In today's video, I want to talk about the importance of choosing the right tool for the job. To do so, I'm going to give you a couple examples of times when I didn't have the right tool and that impeded me, and other times when I did have the right tool and that really helped me. So to start off, growing up, I had a number of different mobile gaming devices, such as this DS Lite, and at a certain point in its history, it broke. Inside here are a bunch of little metal connectors that would connect to the game slot, and at a certain point one of them broke off. At first I tried to fix the DS myself using whatever items I had around, and unfortunately inside the back of the DS are these little triangular shaped star keys. I don't have access to one of those screws, never managed to pick one up, and thus this DS has remained unfixed. Years later, when I had the car I had before my current car, the crankshaft pulley started to break. I'll show you what a crankshaft pulley is here in a moment. Back it up just so you can see it. Down here, that large wheel right there is the crankshaft pulley. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the crankshaft pulley is, it's a pulley attached to the crankshaft, which attaches to all of your pistons in the engine. As those pistons fire off, they turn the crankshaft, which turns the serpentine belt out here. The serpentine belt does all sorts of things, like powers your alternator, your power steering if you have that, as well as your coolant/antifreeze that runs around the engine and makes sure the engine is running at the proper temperature. Knowing this, it's a pretty important component, and it is very securely seated onto the crankshaft. Thus, when we were attempting to replace it on my previous car, it was very difficult to remove, but even harder to reinstall. Without the proper instrument, we wound up just turning the whole crankshaft instead of being able to mount it together. We had to take the car on a flatbed to a shop that had the proper tool that was able to mount the crankshaft pulley to the crankshaft and make sure that it was seated tight. So as you can see, having the right tools would have not only helped me replace that crankshaft pulley, but made it easier to do as well. One of the reasons I enjoy making car videos on this channel is I want to make it easy for people to get into car maintenance and realize that it is pretty accessible as long as you have the right tools. Last of all, when I was in college, I took a couple different screenwriting classes. One of them was an introduction to screenwriting/storytelling, and in the class we were supposed to learn how to write screenplays as part of our assignments. Well, we had a particular book that told you how the screenplays were supposed to be formatted, and I figured to myself that I could do that manually. Now, of course, our professor at the time just recommended that we purchase or get a trial of one of the free available softwares out there so that we would have the correct formatting. But me and my determination and pride, or something else, decided that I would just go at it the manual way, and it cost me in a grade-wise sense. I missed out just slightly on an A grade just because I wanted to do things my way instead of choosing the right tool for the task. Now, I wound up getting that program later on, and it did help me get better grades in the future. I wanted to give these three examples to say that sometimes having the right tool is just an inconvenience. Maybe it makes things less ideal than they could be, but in other times, without the right tool, you can't accomplish what you aim to accomplish. Now, on the other side, having the right tool for the job makes a big difference and can improve what you're trying to create. Now, on the topic of getting the correct tools, when I first got a GoPro, I got this. It is a head/helmet mount that you can use anywhere where your head is. But in all seriousness, it was my first mount for the GoPro. And what was nice about it is it was very accessible, pretty affordable. But what wasn't nice about it was that every time I was reviewing the footage in our editing program, I got extremely motion sick from the footage. I dealt with the motion sickness for years. But then I finally decided to get a chest mount. Not only did the footage smooth out and it was a lot more bearable to edit, but since then, as you may have noticed, I've used it in a bunch of different cooking videos, as well as other projects where I want to video things hands-free. It's been an awesome accessory and a tool that now I can't live without when it comes to filming with my GoPro. Along the same vein, when I was growing up, this was the first camera I had that was not a disposable camera. So on a lot of family trips, I would be given a disposable camera to capture some memories of the trip. But this little device, similar to a Polaroid, would produce instant photographs. You would simply load the film in here. I'm pretty sure they discontinued the film a while back, and it would print it off in a little square picture. That was a lot of fun. Great times were had, recording a lot of memories of early childhood. But as I got older and got interested into the world of filmmaking, I got this, my first camcorder, which films in 4 megapixels, which is pretty funny because as I was looking for a replacement for my broken camera, I realized that at the very baseline, cameras start out with about 22 to 24 megapixels. So technology is way advanced since then. But what was great about this camera in its time is that it enabled me to make home videos and eventually get into college to study film. This camera, which I got in school, enabled me to fulfill a lot of my film projects in college. And after college, enabled me to make different advertisements for small businesses. While it is inoperable now, it has served as a great tool. I was hoping to have a new camera at this point, but I'm still saving up for that. And so that's kind of where the impetus for this video came. I was looking for other ways that I could upgrade my setup for making films on YouTube. I really wanted to continue improving on this channel to make better videos for you all, so that one day we have a great channel full of awesome content. But as I was looking for things to update, I pulled out my old drawing tablet. I bought this one about 7 or 8 years ago to help me edit different photos on Photoshop, and it's been particularly useful, but it does not have an active display where you can see what you're editing. It took a little while for me to adjust to trying to edit photos, seeing them on the computer screen, but editing them down here. Now eventually I did figure out the learning curve, but in the future I'd like a display that I can interact with my hands and see underneath the pen. And those cost a little bit more than what I have on hand right now. So this video is made as an encouragement to myself to hold off and get the right tool for what I'm trying to do. And an encouragement to anyone else out there who may be thinking about getting a tool that may not exactly fit what they're looking to do. In the long run, it's worth it to get the right tool, no matter what project you're undertaking. With that said, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Totally.